Hello, everyone. This is Smile with Sai on Saturdays. We have a very special guest today. And before I'm going to introduce you to her, I just want to wish everybody a very happy Valentine's Day. And on this great occasion, I actually have um, Dr. Nandini Yadav with me today. She is also my Valentine, so she's my wife here. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you folks to Dr. Nandini Yadav.
Hi, Sai. Hi, everyone. I'm Nandini. I'm happy to be spending our Valentine's Day together. I think Sai and I, this is probably we've been together since 2013, so quite a few years together.
And looking forward to more. Spending just 7 years, I think, is just the beginning. So, why don't we get started? I think, the audience would love to hear from a little bit about you, your background, and, where you came from. Very quickly, I would like to introduce myself and about direct shifts before before the audience will spend a lot, we'll spend a lot of time talking to Dr. Yadav. So once again, this is Sai. I'm the founder and CEO at DirectShifts. What we do is we connect clinicians to employers for great opportunities, for be it short time, part time, or full time opportunities. We're a tech enabled company and we are striving to cut out the administrative effort and burden required on both sides to create a great match for clinicians in the United States. So one of the first clinicians that we have and where this idea actually stemmed from is Dr. Yadav. So without further ado, Dr. Yadav, would love to hear from you. Would love, for you to introduce yourself, walk us through a little bit about your background, your journey. So, yeah.
So I'm Nandini Yadav. I'm from Pune in India, but I'd say my childhood is I've lived in Pune. I've changed a couple of schools there. I've lived in Chennai. And my medical journey sort of began with my friend Sindhu, who I met when I was in 7th grade. And she comes from a family of doctors. I come from a no doctor family. So it was something I didn't even plan on doing. I always thought I'd be a journalist, artist, archaeologist. I was into, Egyptology at that time. And, that's where the seed was planted that being a doctor is awesome. It's not only all hard work. It is a lot of hard work, but not all are hard work. And that journey took me, I finished medical school in Moscow, Russia. So that was a good learning experience, both, medical education, life education. And then I came to the States, I finished my training, and I started working as a full-time attending, I would say 2014. And after that, I've sort of traveled different parts of the States, Midwest, upstate New York, New Jersey, and now I'm working in New York City. So that's my story in a bite-sized.
Well, that's great. That's great. Great to hear. And you have what you have traveled across multiple countries. And what kind of a physician are you? What are you currently doing? Would love for the audience to hear about that as well.
Awesome. So I started my career 2014 as an attending, as a hospitalist. As I said, I traveled in different, in different states, and it changed a little bit. Your role changes a little bit, as a hospitalist too. Sometimes you're doing a lot of ICU care. Sometimes you're not doing any ICU care and procedures. So that was a good learning experience. Right now, I'm at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York City, and I work in their urgent care, which is a cancer-specific, emergency room.
Great. So, as you said, I think, you started off by meeting Sindhu. What aspired you to become a physician? And what do you love about being a physician? Why did you become a physician?
I think, coming again, as I said, from a non-physician background, the perception is that it's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of sacrifice, and that is accurate. It takes a toll on you in different ways that you don't anticipate. Despite how much ever you prepare, you're not really prepared for it. However, I think, my aspirations have changed throughout my career. Initially, you always get told, oh, it's a noble profession. People are going to love you. You're going to get a lot of appreciation. And those things, I would say, at my, at this stage in my career right now, I don't think, yes, it is a noble profession, but I don't think seeking people's good word, or like having people appreciate you is high on my priority. Why I like medicine right now is it's a very interesting field. Every day there's something new. You get to learn something new every day, and you meet a lot of different people, and it's actually quite a lot of fun. So this is what I would say keeps me going as of today. And as I said, things change as your career evolves. Medicine can give you so much more than what you thought it would be in medical school or as a child, or even mid-career. So things keep changing, and I think medicine is one of those adaptable careers that you can really, mold into what you want it to be.
Great. So great. That's great. And why did you choose internal medicine as your specialty?
Um, I think internal medicine, I'm a bit of a person who tends to get bored a little quickly. So that's another thing. You need to know yourself pretty well. So locking myself into one field, I knew that I would, within about a year or two, I would outgrow it. For example, I did a cardio oncology fellowship with the plans of getting into, a full-time cardiology fellowship. And then, within a year of that, I realized that this is not for me. I could not get locked into one profession. So internal medicine offers you a lot of flexibility. You see a broad range of medical problems, and I think that's what keeps it interesting. You always learn something new. You're not really locked in, and it also gives you a lot of flexibility. As I said, you can work in an urgent care, you can work as a hospitalist, you can work in a primary care physician, so you can work in a pre-op sort of setting. So it offers a lot of flexibility. That's what I like about it.
Did you know this early in your career about like yourself? Like, how do young people think about which field to specialize in? Like, did you know yourself early on saying this is the kind of person you are and that's why you chose this? Or is there, how would you think about it and how would you advise people to think through this?
So I think a big advice that I would give people is don't lock yourself into something early on. And if it doesn't happen, or if life circumstances don't allow that to happen, don't be disappointed. Deal with sometimes, let's say you decided, you did medicine and you decided to do GI, or you decided to do cardiology, or, infectious disease, whatever it is. And for some reason, that plan did not happen. There are a lot of things that, look at what's in your hand right now, and there are ways that you can make it happen. So I would say it's not a very easy answer to know at the outset, because you begin your career, you enter med school. At least for me, I entered it 18. I know in the States they entered it a little later. It's hard to lock in and to make that decision quite early on. I think what you can do is look at the overall picture. Try to do as much rotations as you can in it. And also another thing I think is important is look at people in the career that you feel that you need to get into. and look, find some mentors in that field, and find some mentors at different stages in their career, say like 5 years into the career, 10, 20 years into the career, and put yourself in their shoes and see, is this somewhere I want to go? Is this something that I aspire to? I think that sort of helps your decision. And also, being a woman, I think it's also important to acknowledge the fact that we have other responsibilities as times moves on. And so then in that setting also, try to find women mentors in your career fields, and ask yourself, okay, do I see myself being happy, leading a life somewhat akin to this? So I think that's kind of important.
Great. And in terms of, you have traveled and seen medicine being practiced across different continents. First of all, you grew up in India, and then you moved to Russia to do your medical school there, and then you moved to the United States. That's pretty phenomenal. That's also very bold. How do you decide that this is something you want to do, and this is very risk taking. So how did you end up taking all of this risks and having the courage to go to a place where you don't speak the language?
So if you want to take such bold decisions at the age of, let's say, 17 or 18, first of all, important to be a very good kid so your parents trust you. Because they're not going to trust you if you're being naughty and you keep breaking the rules. So they're not going to let you make that. So that worked out to my advantage. I was a very good kid. I knew a few people. My family knew a few people whose children had gone through a similar path, and they were doing well in life. So that sort of gave them the confidence to send me there. And frankly, also my parents thought that maybe, as I said, I come from a non-doctor background. They thought maybe I just, drop out or something. So they said, okay, 1 year, let her live her life. She's going to drop out in a year. So that also worked to my advantage. So it was good. It was a good learning experience. You grow up very fast. You have to learn things. You do not have the protection of your family. And plus, you live in an environment where you're exposed to different sorts of people, So that really helped. And it helped me in my journey, from India to Russia to the States. So even when I came here to the States, I didn't have anybody when I was, during my residency, or I have no family here. So, but I was very confident because this was much less a challenge than, coming from Moscow to the States was much less of a challenge than coming from India to Moscow.
From your perspective, okay, looking back, who have been your influential people, or who have guided your philosophy around your profession, and who have really encouraged you to do all of these things?
I think, when I was in Moscow, I had a very good anatomy teacher, Maria Valentina. I think she was a very good mentor for me at my young age. She really advised me, how I want to do things, and I often spoke to her. And then I had another teacher, Dr. Gulayev, who was also very, influential in sort of forming your career in the way you want to, and thinking about it from, I would say, a more holistic point of view, and also from looking at the broader picture of what you want in your life. So those two teachers really helped me. When I was in residency, I did my residency at Good Samaritan Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. And my program director was Dr. Dobbin Chow. He's also a wonderful, very encouraging program director, very unlike what you would think. Always encouraged us to do things outside of medicine, with management. And, I learned about Lean Six Sigma and stuff. We had different conversations apart from medicine. So that was another very, good force that I had very good mentors in my life.
Great, great. And um, what are the challenges that you see? Like one of the challenges is, did you face any challenges as a woman in the medical field? Has that, have you seen that, or and if you would offer any advice to our young women to in terms of like overcoming those challenges?
I think I'm going to start with the positives. I think now is a great time for women to be in medicine, because more than 50% or close to 50% of the workforce is all women. So this is great. You have friends, you have mentors, you have a team. If you have problems, like just being a woman, say for example, you have family responsibilities, you have career responsibilities, you have other people to talk about it. So the environment of medicine has really changed quite a bit. There is still a lot of work to do, but I feel that you have people willing to talk about it, you have friends you can talk about it with. So that's just wonderful. The second thing is, people always talk about this work-life balance. In my opinion, something's always got to give. So a certain point in your life, you'll be like you have to be career oriented. For example, in training, in your early career, you have to be, all about learning and acquiring skills and building your practice. So that's really important. But then there comes a time where, maybe your family takes over a little bit. Or for example, you want to enrich your own life. You want to travel. You want to learn other skills. And something's always got to give. And so these things, this is always challenging, because I think as women, we feel we need to do everything and give everything equal attention. Unfortunately, it does not work this way. So allow yourself some slack, give yourself some love, allow yourselves to take a break, and, and pursue something apart from medicine. So that's, I'm saying this in public so that, people, you don't need anyone's permission, but then this is not an uncommon feeling. So that's the second thing I would say as a woman. It's okay to want something else apart from medicine. And I think, given that times have changed, if you see something that's wrong, or something that's that could be improved on, say something. Speak up, speak to your boss, speak to colleagues and say, hey, I noticed this. Is this a problem for other people? Isn't this weird? Say something, because unless you say something, no one knows. No one knows that it's a problem, and they're used to the status quo. If everyone's okay with the status quo, how are things going to change? And the last thing I would say is, let's say you work in an environment which is, things, you've tried to say something, things are not changing, very antagonistic, it's taking a toll on your mental health, or for whatever reason, it's the environment is not for you. The work is good, but the environment is not for you. It's okay to step back and say, this is not for me. It's a very prestigious job, but this is not for me, and I want something else. And that's okay too. And so I think this sums about it.
Okay, great, great. And through this pandemic, what has changed? How have you been able to maintain your sanity? It's been very challenging as a frontline worker, I'm sure. How have you been able to deal with the challenges? And as you're getting through this phase.
I think the pandemic, it's been nearly a year. And, working in New York City, we've definitely been affected the most. First of all, I'd like to say, New Yorkers were very awesome. I remember in summer, when early stages of the pandemic, and at 7 p.m., everyone would clap, for all the healthcare workers and essential workers. That was very encouraging. that was very, it felt very good that people recognize that, this is what we do every day, but it felt nice that someone, takes a little bit of their time to applaud us. That felt very good. The other thing that it has brought real focus on is physician burnout, and again, having a strong structure outside of work. You need to, I would say I have a very good set of friends. I have a very supportive husband. So, and I love doing, I like doing my art. I like doing yoga. I love to cook. So these things are not involved in medicine, and that really helped me find my strength and helped me center myself so that I could be strong when I'm at the hospital. And I think this is what more and more people are realizing. So make time to have friends, make time to build close connections. And I don't mean Facebook or, Instagram, social media things. I mean like real connections, to have friends. And, this will really help you, because connections and support, people at work who are also going through the same thing, we can do this all together. So I think this is what has really, helped me through this pandemic. And I think as we go through this, I don't know when this will end, hopefully soon, but I think this is important.
Great, absolutely, absolutely. New York has been strong, and and it's been a tough ride, but hopefully, I think we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here. Um, awesome, awesome. So let's just talk about some fun stuff now. You have, if you were not being a physician, what would be an alternative career for you?
Wow, a good one. I think, let me think. I think I'd like to be a chef. I think I'd like to be like an Indian Nigella Lawson. I think I'd like to do that. Like a home cook, and focusing on good food, easy to put together. So I think I'd love to do that.
Okay, that's okay. That's great. I think another thing which I can think of, you would also be a very good detective, because you love to see those problem solving things, and you always expressed an interest in that as well. And I can see that relating to your hospitals as well, where you feel like it's a lot of problem solving and you got to figure out a puzzle there. So probably that's another one that you might be interested in doing.
Yeah, I absolutely love detective stories, and I think medicine does a big part, a big driver for me in medicine is this problem solving, and like, finding out, oh, it looks the same, but it's not really the same. And why isn't it the same? So try to, piece little puzzles together. It absolutely drives me. But, becoming a detective in this day and age, I'm not really sure, because I'm not like one of the CSI kind of detective people, but I'd like more like the Agatha Christie, where it's all glamorous, and you're on a cruise ship and there's a murder, and those sort of things. So I kind of that's how I see myself being a glamorous detective, maybe in the 60s, 70s.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, and then let's just dream a bit. Okay, I think we talked about your career, we talked about the past. We're talking about like what else you might be doing if not being a physician. But let's just say, tomorrow you had $50 million, $100 million given to you, and you have to solve, say, healthcare problems, challenges that is rife in the United States. What would you do with that money?
It's a tough one. I think I'd do a couple of different things. One is I'd get more physicians, at the top levels of hospitals. Two is I would, if we could have more physicians again at the level of the Senate, making healthcare policy, changing. I do believe that, in a country like the United States, we must have universal health care. There are multi-levels, to solve the multiple levels to solving this problem. I understand that. But I think that is something that I would work towards, where everybody has some level of healthcare, and we put more and more focus. And I would and the third, I think, which is the most important thing, is I would say a huge chunk of money should be spent on preventative medicine. So you target much younger people. You target them maintaining their health and well-being, rather than when they're in their 50s and 60s trying to solve their problems. I think we should reallocate money towards the primary care physicians, towards psychiatrists, primary care physicians, pediatricians, towards keeping people healthy, rather than spending money when they're later in their life. So that's where I would focus my money on.
Great, great. No, those are great points. I think we need more clinical leaders in health systems and policymakers, so that they can change things. That's a great point that you mentioned there. Um, yeah. So and any advice you would give for our young folks who are trying to navigate jobs, figure out where they want to work, what kind of a setting or practice type, or how they want to figure out their life, whether it be part-time, full-time, anything of that sort, that you would give advice to our young clinicians?
Sure. I think the first thing is, I think you got to approach, if you're a young physician setting out into a job and you're trying to figure out what's the best job for me, the short answer is you will not know until you try different things. It's like anything. You want to go and buy a nice pair of shoes, you're going to have to try on a couple of different pairs. You're going to see, you sort of know what you want. Like, okay, let's say you want a pair of, I don't know, a pair of like sneakers to run with. You're going to try different, go to different stores, try different things, figure it out. So it's the same sort of principle that you got to apply. Try out different jobs, try it out for a short time. And as I said, don't don't lock yourself into a mindset that this is what I want to do. Because, hey, you may do something else and you may be like, oh, this is actually kind of nice. I want to do that. And this also affords me time to pursue my other little dream. So I said, just experiment a little bit, allow yourself to experiment a little bit, And then the second thing is, let's say you've already, your heart is set on something. And then, before you make that decision, as I said, try to look for mentors who are in different stages of their career in your chosen field, and sort of see yourself, say that, is this whom I want to be like? Is this what I want to be like? And then talk to them, ask them what they did, how they did it. So I think that would be my best advice.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, and I think lastly, it's we're in the weekend of the Valentine's Day. So what message, in terms of love and positivity, would you like to send to all of our audience and listeners and young clinicians out there?
I think I would send just one message, and that is, love yourself, appreciate yourself, love yourself as you would love your child, or love your pet. That's the best advice I can give.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. That's great. So thank you so much for being with us today. Again, once again, this is Dr. Nandini Yadav. She's an internal medicine physician and also my Valentine. But thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your experience, your journey, and all the lovely guidance and advice for our young clinicians. For all the folks listening out today, this is once again Smile with Sai on Saturdays. So we're doing a weekly podcast, a live show where we interview clinicians just to get some guidance and advice from them as to like how they thought about their patients, and any things that you could learn from them. You can find us online at YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well as if you're looking for any opportunities and things like that, you're definitely welcome to go onto our site, DirectShifts.com. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Please have a great weekend. A happy, very, very happy Valentine's Day. Have fun, folks.